Good evening, and thank you for tuning in. I am First Alert Meteorologist Cutter Martin, here to bring you a check of the First Alert forecast. Is streaming to you live on ANF Plus, a variety of platforms. AtlantaNewsFirst.com, the First Alert weather app, Atlanta News First on Roku, Amazon Fire. We are streaming many platforms, but again, if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns about the forecast, obviously there is a lot of weather to talk about, not just tomorrow's First Alert weather day. Bit of a break, though, chilly this weekend, and then big-time cold, not far from records. Arctic cold on the way. This will rival, in some ways, the cold we had last December across metro Atlanta and North Georgia. And then in addition to that, maybe secondary to that, there is a risk of some wintry weather. Can't totally rule out a little bit of wintry mix, and maybe even a little bit of snow, something we're going to be watching here pretty closely. Obviously, we do have a lot of weather to get through between now and then, including tomorrow's risk of a few severe storms. So we're going to be walking you through that here pretty closely. And again, if you have any questions at any time, I'm going to be monitoring that YouTube feed just off to my left, and you can holler at me. There's always a little bit of a delay between when you press send on your question, your comment, your concern, and when I actually see it. But I will be watching that feed and commenting back. Again, live look outside right now, Marietta Square. It is dry. It's actually calm. The winds haven't really picked up just yet. But there is breezier and then windier weather in the First Alert forecast. And eventually, due to this storm system, which is still well to our west, we're going to be tracking increasing chance of showers and thunderstorms. And yes, there is that risk of severe weather across North Georgia, metro Atlanta, but especially south and southwest of the immediate metro. So we're going to be watching that pretty closely. But for the time being, a dry Thursday evening is in the First Alert forecast. So a break from this rain and the storms. If you have any evening plans, of course, it's already 8 p.m. on a Thursday. You might already be out and about. No weather worries, no concerns. It's calm, it's cool, but not too cold. Temperatures in the mid to upper 40s. Tomorrow is our day to watch, and we'll roll through this hour by hour. We'll talk about the impacts. We have rain, wind, and that risk of severe storms to talk about, and then we'll dive into next week. But just want to take a few moments while folks are still joining in on YouTube and our other platforms to kind of slowly dive into the nitty-gritty portion of the forecast and give you that First Alert weather day update so that nobody misses anything. Again, outside right now, not too bad. Temperatures back in the mid to upper 40s. Here's the latest list for you. Atlanta, Hartsfield, Jackson is at 53. Lawrenceville, 46. Marietta, 51. Alpharetta, far north side, North Fulton. Alpharetta, Roswell, Milton corridor there. Just a little bit cooler. Already back in the mid 40s. You all have a shot at upper 30s tomorrow morning, while the rest of us mostly in the lower 40s, especially from the city of Atlanta, point south and west. You can kind of see that. Notice that color scale on the map tomorrow morning. This is your low temperatures forecast map. The deeper blues, the colder weather, east side of North Georgia into East Georgia up to northeast Georgia. 33 in Blairsville, mountains, of course, a little bit colder. 38 Gainesville, 37 in Athens, 39 in Covington. But notice 40s even in our typically colder spots. Carrollton typically is one of the coldest on the map outside of the mountains, but not the case tomorrow morning. And that is because we have clouds moving in from the west. Those clouds act like a blanket. The winds kick up from west to east. So winds blowing and clouds increasing tend to limit how cool we can get, especially this time of year, tending to keep temperatures just a little bit warmer. So west side, a little bit warmer tomorrow morning compared to the past few mornings. Jason B. is watching on YouTube. Hello to you. And again, Jason, anyone else streaming out there, even if you're watching on Roku, Amazon Fire, AtlantaNewsFirst.com, feel free, if you have any weather questions, comments, concerns, to navigate over to YouTube. Atlanta News First is the account to like and to follow, and that's where I can really address your concerns or answer any weather questions. That's what makes ANF Plus so cool and different than traditional broadcast and TV is we can engage, we can chat, we can talk weather, and I can clarify portions of the forecast, so hopefully you get an even better understanding of what is coming our way. Of course, we work hard on air, but there's only so much we can chat, and unfortunately we can't tell what you're thinking, and we can't answer your questions you may be asking your TV at home. So morning commute tomorrow, not bad. I don't think it's nice as this morning. Temperatures in the lower 40s to start, edging back into the middle 40s or so by 9 a.m. And then the forecast begins to change very quickly after 9 o'clock in the morning. Notice by 8, 9 a.m., we have more clouds, 20% chance of rain. We have the yellow light on the morning commute forecast because, yes, I think mostly dry, but there could be an isolated shower or thunderstorm as early as 8, 9 a.m. State line, especially the far west side. So a little bit of rain possible for the morning commute, but I think it's very spotty and for the most part very light. So a very low impact on the morning commute, hence just a yellow light, a simple heads up that, hey, could be a little bit of moisture around tomorrow morning, but not anticipating much of any issues. Let's roll you hour by hour. Again, this is a forecast map, something that is different than actual radar, though it is basically a forecast map. So what radar and what satellite may look like along with temperatures overlaid. So just kind of laying out what's there. And again, if you have any weather questions about the actual forecast or just what you're seeing on your screen, you can reach out on YouTube. Atlanta News First is the account to like and to follow. So overnight tonight, 11 p.m. midnight, we're dry, we're mostly clear. Here come the clouds, though, 4, 5, 6 a.m. It's a quick cloud over. We're going to go from mostly clear to cloudy and maybe drizzly pretty quickly there over the maybe 6, 7, 8, 9 a.m. window. So here we are, 6 a.m., lots of clouds. Spotty rain, it's a possibility. A few sprinkles, a possibility, but nothing to really worry about. I don't really even think it's anything that's going to slow you down. As we get into the mid-morning time frame, temperature still chilly, mid to upper 40s. Rome, on to Carrollton, Cleveland, and Randolph counties in Alabama, Roanoke, Wedowee. Notice how we have yellows, oranges, reds. These are actual elevated thunderstorms. So what I mean by elevated is they're not rooted at the surface. You're not able to tap into any warmth that may be there. So the risk of severe weather with these particular cells much lower than what they will be in the afternoon. But still rumbles of thunder possible, brief heavy rain likely with these, and they will be approaching and then passing and crossing over the state line by mid-morning 10 a.m. So for the later commuters, more likely to be impacted by some heavier rain. 11 a.m. into noon, first alert weather day underway by that point. Again, thunder, lightning, brief heavy rain, maybe some small hail with these particular storms. But the risk of severe weather will be a little bit greater, though overall that risk has decreased just a bit from when we spoke yesterday evening. First alert meteorologist Patrick Pete, our 8 p.m. stream with him on ANF Plus. He was probably talking about a level 3 out of 5, an enhanced risk of severe weather. The Storm Prediction Center and the National Weather Service office at Peachtree City are governing Weather Service office here for North Georgia, and all of the metro has pared back that risk of severe weather, and we'll talk about why and why we tend to agree, of course, here in the First Alert Weather Center in just a moment. But just because the risk has decreased a bit doesn't mean we can totally take it off the table. It doesn't mean that risk is gone. So noon, it's going to be a stormy lunch hour. If you're trying to leave the office early, it is a Friday after all. You're going to be driving in rain, even if you leave at noon, 1 p.m. If you have maybe it's a Friday, people are working lunch, client meetings, it'll be raining pretty much area-wide. Now, it won't rain heavily constantly, but there will be wet weather across, pretty much the entire area. These little storms zipping off to the north and to the northeast. Do you want to talk about the setup, though? Again, you notice, and I'm going to draw this out for you, these storms we were just talking about, these areas of yellow and red, and in a couple of spots, pink and purple. These are torrential downpours, and it could be thunder, lightning, some small hail there. But the risk of severe weather is actually going to be greater with this line of storms moving in from the west. This particular forecast model has this occurring, that line approaching the state line by 2 p.m. This is basically along and ahead of a cold front. And ahead of that, with these little showers and thunderstorms moving through, these less organized, these smaller clusters of showers and storms, they will be moving through with a warm front. In fact, notice how the temperature, this is just a pause tomorrow afternoon at 2 p.m. Notice how LaGrange is up to 58 after starting in the lower 40s, but notice how Clayton up in Rabun County is still in the lower 40s. We have a wedge of cool air that has nosed its way into North Georgia, as we typically do, in Northeast Georgia this time of year. That will erode away very gradually from southwest to north and east. So the further south and west you are, the more likely you are to approach 60. And the more likely you are to have a severe thunderstorm or two, because a couple of ingredients needed for that to occur. You need instability. You need those clouds to be able to grow tall enough to tap into some of the other ingredients we have tomorrow, which is the fact that winds will be absolutely howling up above our heads. It's going to be windy here at the surface, ground level, where we work and play and go about our Friday, but way up above our heads it's going to be absolutely howling. And that wind that's very gusty will be changing direction a little bit with height. encouraging storms to rotate, but we just need clouds to get tall enough in order to be able to really tap into that and to really see organized severe weather. And it's still a bit of a question whether that will happen tomorrow. But regardless, there will be widespread rain, at times heavy rain. It'll be windy, even outside of storms, much like it was earlier this week as the storm system moved through Tuesday. And there is that risk of severe thunderstorms, and that risk will be greatest, as I highlight this once again, with that line of storms ahead of our cold front. Again, cold front still west of the state line at 2 p.m. We're going to have a broken line of showers and thunderstorms forming along and ahead of it, and that line will be moving off to the east, and along that line is when the risk of severe storms will be greatest. Jason B. asking, do you think we'll see more schools cancel or release early? I would say, unfortunately, sometimes you don't know up until maybe the morning of. There is, what I will say is, superintendents and other decision makers when it comes to school districts really weigh that decision heavily, and it's a complicated scenario. A lot of folks, even though e-learning is easier than ever and learning from home is easier than ever because of COVID a few years ago, obviously taking time off of work last minute is not easy for parents. So it's not a decision that they take lightly, but I do think we do not anticipate too many changes between now and tomorrow morning in the forecast. If anything, fingers crossed, we could pare that risk of severe weather down further. We'll just have to see how data evolves overnight, but right now, with the risk of severe weather that we have and the decisions made by school districts already, probably not too many changes, but I think if they do make a final call, if there are any adjustments, it'll be early tomorrow morning. So you want to wake up and watch Atlanta News First tomorrow morning. Stay tuned to atlantanewsfirst.com, and probably the easiest way to find out is to just check the Atlanta News First app and see what's going on early tomorrow morning. Again, that last call, so to speak, for school districts probably would be 4:35 o'clock tomorrow morning, and we would have those updates on Atlanta News First in the morning, and we would also have those updates in the Atlanta News First app. Alyssa Johnson, should I be scared in Atlanta? You should be scared nowhere. Again, I know it's easier said than done for some folks because weather can be pretty crazy, and unfortunately tomorrow's risk of severe weather falling on the anniversary of a pretty significant severe weather event that occurred across North Georgia exactly 1 year ago tomorrow, January 12th. However, what I will say is that there's no reason to be scared. It's just good to be casually prepared. Just know that there will be showers and thunderstorms moving through North Georgia and Metro Atlanta tomorrow, and a handful, not all of them, but a small number of them could become strong to severe. So the odds of you seeing severe weather tomorrow, they're certainly not 100%. They're not even 50%. But we don't want you to go about your day not prepared, just in case you happen to be one of the few communities, one of the folks that are impacted by strong to severe storms or even the potential of strong to severe thunderstorms tomorrow. So, Alyssa, I know easier said than done. Do not be worried tomorrow. Whether you're in Atlanta, even if you're down south in LaGrange, even if you're in Macon, even if you're traveling to Valdosta, just be aware, be alert to the possibility of stormy weather, the likelihood of stormy weather, and the possibility of severe weather, but don't be scared. Stephen G. saying not looking good for Georgia. It's not actually the most significant severe weather parameters we've seen even this year, so something to watch, but we're not forecasting widespread severe weather. Widespread rain, windy weather, yes. We'll talk about winds in just a moment, but no reason to be overly concerned. All that we ask here at Atlanta News First, the entire First Alert Weather team, is that you check the forecast, pay a little bit more attention than normal tomorrow. No need for fear, though. Just pay a little closer attention and have at least one way. It's as easy as your smartphone to get severe weather alerts through the day tomorrow, and specifically, we're talking about late tomorrow morning into the afternoon. Jason asking if there's a risk of tornadoes. Yes, that risk is low, but there is a risk. Let's go through the hour by hour, then we'll break that risk down here threat by threat in just a moment. So 2 p.m., that line, the greatest chance of severe storms approaching the state line. And again, our forecast model will drag the bar back here. Notice how they're now Carrollton, Dallas area up in Paulding County, Calhoun, the 75 corridor, down to Troup County. That is relatively early in the day, as the day is concerned, 2, 3 p.m., these storms moving in. Probably closer into the metro, mid-afternoon through maybe 5 p.m. And then very quickly behind this line, we've had all of our rain early in the day by this point, but this line, as soon as it moves through, maybe 4:30, 5:30 for the heart of the metro, that risk of severe weather plummets down to 0, and we won't be worried about it. As we get into later tomorrow evening, again, First Alert Weather Day, it's dropped. Dinner plans, you're fine. Going out Friday night, no issues. This is a late morning through late afternoon sort of scenario, and by the time we wake up Saturday morning, we are back to drier weather, much colder weather. Temperatures in the 20s, lower 30s. You factor in the wind that will be howling on our Saturday morning, and it will feel like it is in the teens and lower 20s. So a very cold, but no risk of severe weather sort of a weekend setup. Talking about the risk of severe weather, again, let's go ahead and break this down for you. This is the risk for tomorrow, so day 2, and there is a slight 2 out of 5 risk of severe weather across the board tomorrow. And that is just the general risk, all factors. So hail to the size of quarters, wind gusts 58 miles per hour or greater. Also, the risk of isolated tornadoes. So the risks are there, but we can now break it down risk by risk. And here is the risk of tornadoes tomorrow. Again, pretty much everybody has about a fair chance. This is a 5% chance, that tan kind of brownish shading you see, of a tornado occurring within 25 miles or so of one particular spot. That's math, and those are percentages. What does that mean to you at home? The risk is low, yes, but it's not going to be a 0% risk. Of course, if it's anything above 0, it's worth your attention. That's just the name of the game. Now, wind gusts 58 miles per hour or greater, we have a 15% chance of occurring within several miles of any one particular area. So it does look like the risk of straight line wind gusts 60 to 65 miles per hour greater than the risk of tornadoes. The risk of hail tomorrow is relatively low. In fact, a 0% chance up across Gilmer County, Ellijay, Fannin County, up in Rabun County. Temperature is very cool up there, as we showed you just a few moments ago in the hour-by-hour forecast. But a limited risk of hail. Hail is not the big threat tomorrow, but perhaps a couple storms, penny-sized hail, dime-sized hail, pea-sized hail, maybe up to the size of quarters. But in general, it is wind gusts 60 to 65 miles an hour, and that risk of isolated tornadoes, 5% chance. That's why they've lowered our risk of tornadoes. There was a 10% chance within a given area, now a 5% chance. But again, Jason, that risk is near 0, but not quite 0. That's why it's worth your attention. Jason saying, I have your weather app, love the alerts. Thanks for keeping us informed, of course. And again, we can do it in a weather graphic, or I can just show you my smartphone, letting you know that we too, here at the First Alert Weather Center, in the First Alert Weather Center, use the Atlanta News First app. That is what it looks like when you load it up. This, of course, is the home screen. And upper right-hand corner of the app looks like kind of 3 horizontal sheets of paper, 3 white lines stacked on top of each other. All you have to do is click on that. And again, I know you probably can't see the words at home, but this is the settings menu, and it's pretty straightforward. Just click on location. I have mine set to follow me. It knows I'm in Atlanta. And when you hit follow me, that way, wherever you are, you will be alerted to storms that are impacting your area. What happens a lot is people live in Roswell. They have their location set in Roswell. They work in Atlanta, and if a warning is issued for Atlanta, but your location is set to Roswell, you might not get the exact alert. But if you hit follow me, it knows where you are at all times. And again, we're not sharing your data with anybody. Very limited risk of any issues like that. I share my location, and I tend to be very careful with these kind of things. So we're not, we want to make sure that you get the proper warnings. And then in the settings menu, again, click on settings, you get these 3 particular options. And by turning Atlanta News First Alerts on, kind of toggling that, might not be able to see it, but it's highlighted in green there. By toggling that on, you'll get video updates from the First Alert Weather team. If there are any further changes to the forecast, we have seen some over the past 24 hours. You'll be alerted to those changes before you may even see them on TV, if it's outside of news time. And then weather notification types. For me, what I'm concerned about, severe weather alerts, precipitation, and lightning alerts. And under severe, you can actually customize. If you don't want watches, you only want warnings, you can customize that. If you only want tornado warnings, you don't want severe thunderstorm warnings, you can customize that. So again, a pretty good tool to have. First Alert Weather app, as Jason was just talking about, and a good tool to have tomorrow. Tom and Jerry Fanatic 2024, that's a YouTube avatar. I know what you're talking about, the EF3 tornado that destroyed parts of Griffin. Can I upload the Griffin EF3 tornado on my channel, which I will give the channel credit on my post? We don't have any of that. You can share our news story, but we don't have any video to share. But speaking of that, we actually have our first anniversary special going back and visiting some of the same folks we spoke to a year ago down in Griffin and LaGrange, some of these hardest hit communities, Pike County as well, just general Henry County, Spalding County, Pike County areas. And that special will air tomorrow around 12:30 or so to 12:50, streaming right here, ANF Plus. Coates, LOL, in Atlanta right now, dang, pray for me. No reason to be that worried. Yes, there is a risk of severe weather. This is just about being informed. We don't need anyone panicking. We don't need anyone super worried. Certainly, there have been much more serious severe weather days, even locally within the past year. Tomorrow, it's not worth ignoring. You need to pay attention to it, but it's not worth worrying over either. Again, we are here to keep you covered. Tom and Jerry, hopefully you did get an answer to your question. I hope that explanation did make a little bit of sense to you. If you do have any further questions, again, you can reach out to me any social media platform or just comment again right here on Atlanta News First. Our YouTube channel, you can reach me, Cutter Martin, at CUTTERMARTIN, on Instagram, Threads, Twitter, Facebook. And again, you're looking at a forecast model here. I'm going to bring it back to tomorrow morning's commute. We're going to run through this one more time, and then we'll talk about the more exciting weather, in my opinion. You know, I like severe weather, but don't necessarily like when it impacts an area that, I'm in and I'm forecasting for, because, of course, we don't want you worried. We want you to we want to keep you covered, but we don't want you to be overly worried about the weather. 6, 7, 8 o'clock tomorrow morning, it will be kind of chilly, not as cold as it has been, but chilly. Lots of clouds in the sky, excuse me, and there will be some sprinkles and some light patchy drizzle in the forecast, especially along and west of I-75 tomorrow morning. I think this particular forecast model may be a little bit too overzealous with how much drizzle we're seeing 8 o'clock in the morning. Nonetheless, you're driving to work after 6 a.m. You may have the wipers from time to time on that lowest setting. Not a big impact to the morning drive in, but could be a few damp streets. Very quickly, though, drizzle becomes more concentrated. Showers and perhaps even some rumbles of thunder by 10 a.m. First alert weather day, late morning into the noon hour. Notice how we do have some even pinks and purples. These are isolated thunderstorms embedded within a larger shield of rain. And these isolated thunderstorms late morning to noon, less likely to be severe, but I do think they'll be impactful. Very heavy rain for a short period of time at least. These will be moving pretty quickly. Thunder, lightning. And also the fact that small hail will be possible, P up to about the size of dimes. And while the risk of strong winds and isolated tornadoes a little bit lower with these, we will be watching that potential. As we mentioned earlier, it's this line of storms. And if you're just now tuning in, we're streaming Roku, Amazon Fire, AtlantaNewsFirst.com, the Atlanta News First app, First Alert Weather app, and on YouTube. And we have some new comments coming in and answer those in just a second. But do want to drive home the point that the risk of severe weather is greatest as we get into the early and mid-afternoon hours along ahead of this front. It's moving in from Alabama, approaching from the west. It's these storms in particular that have the best chance of becoming strong to severe. Moving quickly eastward, though. In fact, I think by 5, 6 p.m., they're mainly east of the city of Atlanta. And by the time I get to tomorrow evening, dinner time, after work, Friday plans, no big issues, cooler, breezy. And then cold, windy, winter coat weather, but clear weather, nice weather, aside from it being cold, Saturday morning. Mo Sales ATL saying, I just hope it's not a snow apocalypse again. Not tomorrow. No snow in the forecast tomorrow. Plain old cold, no snow in the forecast this weekend. But what I do want to draw your attention to, and we'll go ahead and skip ahead here just a little bit, bring out that first alert 7-day forecast. Tomorrow, our first alert weather day, and then plain cold, plain windy. It's a winter weekend. Saturday, Sunday, lots of sun, but it's going to feel very, very cold, especially with that wind factored in. 48 Sunday afternoon for Martin Luther King Jr. Day, obviously a day when many are outside remembering the life of Martin Luther King Jr., some parades and community activities going on and events. It'll be cold, increasingly cloudy, but also dry. So we're not concerned about the weather having a big impact on Martin Luther King Jr. Day right now. However, and there's a big ... here, earlier it was looking like our Arctic front would arrive Martin Luther King Jr. Day Monday. Data today has pushed that back just a little bit in favoring Tuesday. In my experience, though, what tends to happen is, if anything, cold air tends to beat forecast models and can sometimes arrive a little bit ahead of schedule. So we're going to be watching that potential pretty closely as we get into early next week. Monday, Martin Luther King Jr. Day, cold, increasingly cloudy, but just a slight chance of sprinkles, and that's mainly late in the day. Now, Arctic Blast Tuesday, you see the icon there, snow, rain, sleet, a wintry mix is a possibility. And we've seen data actually trend a little bit wetter, colder for that Tuesday, Wednesday forecast. So Tuesday, keep your eyes on it, already a first alert. We're watching it. You should keep an eye on it, especially with such cold air in the forecast, forecasting a very hard freeze Wednesday morning. So Tuesday night into Wednesday morning, I would say Wednesday night into Thursday morning, good idea to wrap the pipes, keep them covered, and it's possible, if not likely, that many areas will stay at or below freezing Tuesday, possibly Wednesday afternoons. Again, we're going to be playing with these numbers as we get a little bit closer to the forecast. These situations are always fairly hard to really get the exact temperatures 100% correct this far out. So something we're going to be watching pretty closely, but we have the first alert weather day tomorrow. This active weather pattern really kicks it up yet another gear. That risk of severe storms is there, though a little lower than when we spoke yesterday on ANF Plus about this time. Saturday, Sunday, back to calm weather. Great for any errands you have to do. Trying to clean up the yard, maybe after some of that wind and the rain and the storms tomorrow. It'll be cold, but hey, it'll be sunny. And then bigger changes as we get into early next work week. And if you're wondering about the risk for wintry weather as we get into next week, we're going to go ahead and roll out and pull out that Tuesday forecast and talk about the setup. Certainly not a slam dunk. There is also uncertainty in this part of the forecast, but notice here the scale in blue there, the light blue. That's a low risk of wintry weather, but again, not zero for Metro Atlanta, the city of Atlanta. A medium risk in the dark blue. So the further north and west you go, the greater chance you have of at least seeing some sleet and snow flurries and wintry mix flying through the sky as colder, windy weather filters in. And then there in pink up in North Alabama, Tennessee, it looks like a pretty high risk of wintry weather and could be the kind that really snarls travel from Memphis to portions of eastern Oklahoma, maybe even the DFW area, north and northeast Texas. And again, Nashville into East Tennessee, we'll be watching it. For us, the further south you go, the lower your risk of wintry weather, but this is days out. And certainly some fluctuations to the forecast are a possibility, so it is worth your attention, hence the first alert. We're keeping an eye on it, and we suggest you do too. Next Tuesday, Wednesday, and odds are we'll actually have another blast of cold air re-enter the picture next week. So before we sign off, I want to let you know that the entire Atlanta News First team, not just the First Alert Weather team, is here to keep you updated. And we are letting you know that there are already some school closures tomorrow, and you can get the latest if you're on the go, the Atlanta News First app, but at atlantanewsfirst.com, and it's presented similarly in the Atlanta News First app. We already have that list of school districts that are closed, along with the latest forecast timeline, what you can do to be ready for that risk of severe weather tomorrow. Clayton County Schools, Coweta County Schools, Griffin-Spalding County Schools, Henry County Schools, all closed. Jasper County Schools, 12:30 p.m. release for elementary, 1 p.m. release for middle and high school classes in schools. Meriwether County Schools, remote learning day, so not in campus or on campus, but you are learning remotely. Newton County Schools, 11:15 a.m. release for elementary and STEAM programs, 12:15 release for high school, 1:15 release for middle school. Pike and Troup counties also completely closed. Atlanta City Schools still in session tomorrow, but no after-school activities for Friday, January 12th, 2024. And again, you can always find that First Alert forecast at atlantanewsfirst.com and in the Atlanta News First app, First Alert Weather app as well. So we're here to keep you updated. Risk of severe weather pared down a little bit from just 24 hours ago. It will be windy tomorrow. Keep that in mind. Even outside of storms, it will be windy. We have a wind advisory in effect, high wind watch up in effect for portions of the north and northeast Georgia mountains where winds could gust 40 to 50 miles an hour. For the rest of us, 30, 40 mile an hour gusts pretty likely. So do keep that in mind. Spotty power outages possible even outside of these storms. But under these storms or within these severe storms that are possible, winds could gust 60 to 65 miles an hour, could also be dealing with some isolated tornadoes, especially south of the city of Atlanta. So we'll be watching this pretty closely here over the next few days, keeping you updated across all platforms, and we will be updating that forecast if necessary. Again, First Alert Meteorologist Patrick Pete and I, starting at 10 p.m. Atlanta News First on Peachtree TV, Atlanta CW affiliate. Also, we are back on WNF, Atlanta News First for the late news at 11 p.m. Wake up with the morning team tomorrow. First Alert meteorologist Courtney Jacobazi, Ella Dorsey, Rodney Harris, all keeping you updated tomorrow morning. New data coming in, updating that forecast. They'll keep you up to date in the First Alert weather app. If you're on the go Friday morning and away from the TV, you can stream the newscast in our apps. And then the entire evening team, including myself, will be keeping you covered here as storms begin to roll in. Again, I want to thank you for watching, for tuning in. Next live stream tomorrow morning will be at 10 a.m. right after the morning newscast. In the meantime, First Alert weather app is a great tool to keep you updated, and we will be working tirelessly to keep that resource updated. In the meantime, enjoy your evening. Have a wonderful one, and we'll see you tomorrow.